Everybody move, get back.
Oh my God, look out!
Clear the area now.
I found you! I was so worried.
You ever have one of those mornings where everything feels stupid loud for no reason? That was St. Haven Medical Center at 9:12 a.m. sharp. Phones ringing, alarms beeping, somebody yelling about lost paperwork, an old man arguing with a vending machine that had fully declared war on him. Just chaos. Regular, annoying, Monday morning chaos. And then the world just stopped. I'm not exaggerating. It wasn't a slow fade, chum, or a something feels weird moment. No, it was like someone punched a hole in the sound. Every noise in the entire ER got sucked out in one heartbeat. Phones, dead. Conversations, cut mid-sentence. Nurses arguing over who stole whose lunch. Mouths open, nothing coming out. Even the air felt wrong. Thick, cold, like the whole building suddenly realized it was holding its breath. And then the automatic doors slid open. They hissed, real soft, too soft. And for a moment, nobody turned. Because why would they? Doors open every 30 seconds in an ER. But then someone at the front gasped. Another whispered, "What the hell?" Every single head in that lobby turned at the exact same time, like one giant, terrified organism. And my stomach hit the floor before I even saw him. It was a dog, a German shepherd. But not the kind you're picturing. Not clean, proud, police service poster perfect. No. This one looked like he'd crawled out of a war zone. His fur soaked, clumped with dark, sticky blood. Way too much blood. Some dry, some fresh, some smeared like he'd run through hell on all fours. Mud covered his legs. His paws slipped on the polished floor like he couldn't even feel the ground anymore. And then, we saw why he was walking like that. There was a little girl on his back. Limp. Unmoving. Just draped over him like a broken doll someone forgot to pick up. Her name, though we didn't know it yet, was Lily Carter. 7 years old. Tiny. Too tiny. Her arms hung down, fingers pale blue. Her face pressed against the shepherd's shoulder, her hair matted with dirt and dried blood. Her shirt. God. What used to be light pink was now torn, soaked in so much red it barely looked like clothing. One shoe was missing. Behind them, a trail of droplets. Tap, tap, tap. Like a poem, clock counting down to something horrible. Someone dropped a clipboard. It hit the ground like a gunshot in a church. But nobody moved. Nobody even blinked. The dog, Ranger, though we didn't know, kept walking, limping, stumbling, but walking, with this laser-focused stare straight ahead, like nothing in the world mattered except getting that tiny girl to someone who could save her. He took another step. His front leg buckled. His whole body dipped. And the entire ER gasped, because it looked like he might collapse right there on the tile. But that dog dug his claws into the floor and forced himself back up, his legs trembling so hard it hurt to watch, his chest rising and falling in desperate, uneven breaths, every inch of him screaming pain, exhaustion, fear. But he kept moving. The silence grew heavier, dense, like the ceiling might crack under it. A doctor near the front whispered, Is she breathing?" But nobody dared get close. Not because we feared an attack. No. His eyes weren't violent. They were pleading, panicked, terrified in a way that didn't come from instinct, but from love. 2 more steps. Then his back legs gave out. Ranger crashed to his knees, a hard, helpless thud. Lily slid a few inches sideways, and the sound that rippled through the room. God. People flinched like they'd been shot. Pure, collective fear. That's when Nurse Amelia Brooks snapped back to life. She didn't ask who the girl was, didn't ask where the dog came from, didn't ask permission or protocol. She just ran. She dropped to her knees so fast the floor squealed. Hey, buddy," she whispered, hands raised like she was approaching a wounded soldier. "It's okay. I've got you. I've got her. I'm gonna help, all right." And Ranger, he let out a low, broken growl. Not anger, not threat. More like, "Please, don't take her. Don't hurt her. Don't let her die." Amelia froze, then softened. "I'm here to help her. I promise. I swear. Let me get her." Ranger looked at her, and the emotion in his eyes, raw, human, pain, trust, surrender twisted together. He shifted, barely, just enough for Amelia to slide her arms under Lily's tiny body. And Lily, she was cold, too cold. Amelia almost dropped her. "She's freezing," she whispered, horror cracking her voice. "Trauma cart! Trauma! 1! Move!" Voices erupted, the room exploding into chaos. But Ranger, he dragged himself forward, literally dragging himself until he reached the trauma room door, and he collapsed there, right at the threshold. He tried to lift his head, tried to look inside, tried to make sure Lily was still alive, but his body finally gave out. And the truth? From the way he looked, he almost didn't make it either. The second Amelia pushed through the trauma room doors with Lily in her arms, everything went from 0 to absolute chaos. And look, I've seen bad days in ER units before. Heart attacks, car accidents, strokes, all of it. But this wasn't a bad day. This was a free fall straight into hell. "Her temp's crashing. Get warm blankets now. Pulse is thready. She's not perfusing. Where's respiratory? voices tangled together into one desperate storm. Lily lay there, a tiny pale ghost on the gurney. Lips blue, skin cold. Cold in a way that makes your stomach drop. Cold like she didn't belong in a world where people are supposed to be warm. Amelia planted her hands on the girl's chest and started compressions. Hard ones. The kind that would break your ribs if you weren't 7 years old. Come on, sweetheart. Stay with me. And outside the doors? Oh, God. Outside was another storm entirely. Ranger had dragged himself all the way to Trauma Bay 2 like he owned the place. Bleeding, shaking, barely standing. But when those doors shut in his face, something inside him broke. Bang! His skull hit the glass so hard the whole window rattled. Jesus! Somebody grab that dog! But nobody moved. Because Ranger wasn't acting like a dog. No. He was grieving, panicking, fighting the door like it was the thing killing Lily. Inside the trauma room, Lily's heart monitor spiked. One of those ugly, shrill beeps that scrape straight down your spine. And right on cue, bang! Ranger slammed into the door again, claws screeching across the tile. Even through the thick hospital glass, you could feel the sound he made. Not a bark, not a growl, more like a broken cry that said, "Please, don't take her from me." Amelia heard it. She froze, sweat dripping, hands still pressing Lily's chest. He knows. He actually knows. Meanwhile, Lily's vitals dipped again, heart rate plummeting into the 40s. For a kid? That's a cliff edge. Push fluids. She's too cold. Get a bear hugger. We're losing her. Amelia's voice cracked, compressions steady but desperate. Fight, baby girl. Please, fight. Outside. Bang. 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 Ranger threw his entire body at the door. Every hit looked like it could knock him unconscious. Blood smeared across the glass. His legs buckled, but he forced himself up again. Refusing, absolutely refusing, to live in a world where Lily didn't. A guard whispered, "I've never seen anything like that. Not from an animal." And none of us had. Then things got worse. Way worse. Lily's oxygen crashed. The monitor spit angry red numbers. A nurse grabbed the ambu bag, forcing air into lungs that didn't want to work anymore. Ranger howled. God, that sound. Not loud, but it cut you open from the inside, like hearing a child scream for a parent that isn't coming. Why is he reacting like that? A resident asked, voice trembling. Amelia didn't look up. Because she's his. Not one person doubted her. Another dip. Lily's tiny body jerking under another intervention. Machines wailing. People shouting. A metal tray crashing to the floor. And Ranger, half dead himself, dragged his body up just one more inch and pressed his head to the glass, breathing ragged, eyes locked on Lily like she was the last star in his sky. Her pulse is slipping. Come on, come on. Amelia leaned low, almost forehead to forehead with Lily. You hear that dog? That's your boy. That's Ranger. He's waiting for you, okay? You don't get to give up." And somehow, weirdly, the monitor blipped upward. Barely, but upward. A fragile little beep like hope trying to crawl back from the grave. Ranger whined. Soft this time, like he felt it. Another breath. Another beep. Warm blankets arrived. Oxygen stabilized. Just a hair, but enough to make people move faster, believe harder. Lily's skin slowly shifted from blue to faint pink. "She's responding," someone whispered. Amelia exhaled, hands trembling. "That's it, sweetheart. Stay with me. Stay with Ranger." Outside the room, Ranger finally collapsed. Not unconscious, just spent. His body had given everything he had left. He rested his head on the floor, eyes still fixed on the glass. Watching, waiting, guarding. No one shooed him away. No one dared. Because everyone, every doctor, every nurse, every stranger in that hallway, knew the truth. Lily wasn't fighting alone. She had a soldier at the door, and he wasn't going anywhere. And honestly, while the hospital was fighting for Lily's life, there was another battle unfolding miles away. One nobody saw yet. One that explained how she ended up in Ranger's arms in the first place. Sheriff Matt Donovan wasn't the emotional type. The guy looked like he was built from leftover lumber and black coffee. But even he went quiet when he saw the first trail of blood in the snow. "That fresh?" he muttered. Ranger Kayla Torres crouched beside him, gloved fingers brushing the dark smear. "Yeah," she whispered. "Within a few hours, maybe less." The wind whipped through the trees like it was warning them to leave. Snow Peak Forest always had that vibe. Cold, heavy, like it remembered things it shouldn't. But today it felt downright haunted. Kayla straightened. "That dog, Ranger?" She shook her head. "He dragged himself a long way while bleeding like this. And he wasn't limping through warm dirt. He was bleeding into snow. He should have lost even more heat. He shouldn't even be alive." Matt grunted. "Then we'd better find what he dragged her away from." They followed the trail deeper into the pines. Black-green giants towering overhead like skyscrapers made of bone. Snow crunched under their boots. And the farther they walked, the quieter the world became. No birds, no wind, not even branches creaking. Just silence. The kind that crawls all the way into your spine. After a few minutes, Kayla stopped so abruptly, Matt nearly ran into her. "There," she whispered. And yeah, it was bad. A campsite, if you could even call it that, sat slumped in a small clearing. But it wasn't peaceful. It looked like a war zone. A ripped tarp flapped weakly in the wind, strung between two trees like someone threw it up in the dark and didn't care if it collapsed. A fire pit sat cold and gray, half-lit sticks abandoned mid-spark. Matt scanned the ground. "This isn't just messy," he murmured. "This is panic." Kayla nodded, eyes tracing shredded fabric scattered everywhere. "Something violent went down right here." They both froze, at the exact same moment, because carved into a leaning cypress tree, deep enough to splinter the bark, were 3 words: "No return, no mercy." These weren't neat little letters. They were jagged, uneven, the kind carved by someone whose hands were shaking with rage or madness. Kayla swallowed. Jesus. Matt leaned closer. "This wasn't a warning," he said quietly. "This was a promise. The kind only a sick man would carve." Kayla stepped around a fallen log and gasped. "Matt, look!" A small jacket, pink, torn down one side, zipper snapped off, one sleeve ripped like someone yanked the kid wearing it hard enough to tear the fabric. Kayla lifted it gently, dusting frost away. "This is Lily's," she whispered. "Her mom said she left wearing pink." Matt's jaw tightened. Then she was here, alive. "And scared," Kayla murmured. Beside the jacket lay a rope. Not just rope, a loop. The kind used to restrain wrists. Its ends frayed, dirt-covered, like someone had cut it loose or ripped free. Then Matt saw them. Drag marks, long, crooked, gouged into the snow like someone dragged a small body or someone too weak to walk. "Someone pulled her," Matt muttered. "Away from camp, or back toward it." Kayla knelt again, brushing snow aside around a shallow indentation. "Matt, look." It was the shape of a dog's body, a full imprint. Ribcage, legs tucked, tail curled around like a protective shield, and beside it, a smaller imprint. A child. Kayla's voice cracked. "He lay with her, at least one night. Maybe more." Matt closed his eyes, not to rest, but to keep from cursing the entire forest. "He kept her warm," he whispered, "saved her from hypothermia." "While bleeding himself," Kayla added softly. "That dog is a damn miracle." But then, Kayla froze. At the edge of the clearing was a boot print. Fresh, deep, too big for a child, too heavy for a hiker, and far too new to be from last night. Ethan Crow. Kayla didn't have to say it. The tread matched the prints from the missing persons investigation. Matt's expression turned cold, violent. "He was here," he said. "He came back." Kayla scanned the trees, suddenly tense. "And if he came back, he's not done." A violent gust cut across the clearing, like the forest itself was warning them that something was still out there. Watching, waiting, hungry. Matt exhaled, fog curling from his mouth. "She didn't just get taken," he whispered. "She lived a nightmare." "And Ranger pulled her out of it," Kayla murmured. "Piece by piece." She looked around the clearing, the shredded tarp, bloody snow, carved threats, frayed rope, evidence of terror everywhere. "Matt," she breathed. "What kind of kid survives something like this?" Matt stared at the emptiness, hands curling into fists. The kind who wasn't alone. And now the real question is, if Ranger hadn't shown up in that forest, what do you think would have happened to Lily? 1, 2, or 5? And the crazy thing is, while the cops were piecing together that horror show in Snow Peak Forest, something just as heavy, just as gut-punching, was happening back at St. Haven. Because Lily, the kid everyone was praying for, finally opened her eyes. It didn't happen dramatically. No swelling music. No magical glow. This was messy, quiet, scary. It started with the slightest twitch of her fingers. Nurse Amelia Brooks noticed it first. Almost missed it, honestly, because she'd been staring at the monitors for hours. Hey, sweetheart? Are you?" she whispered, leaning closer. Then Lily's eyelids fluttered. Slow. Weak, like they weighed too much for her tiny face. And suddenly, she gasped. Not a soft gasp. Not a confused one. A scream. A full-body, terrified, bone-deep scream. Her eyes flew open, and she shoved herself backwards so hard her IV line snapped tight. "Don't let him find me!" she cried. "Please, please don't let him find me!" This wasn't normal kid panic. This wasn't bad dream panic. This was the sound you only hear from someone who survived things they never should have survived. Amelia rushed to her side, hands raised like she was approaching a wounded animal. "Lily, hey, listen to me, honey. You're safe. You're in the hospital. You're not in the woods anymore." But Lily was shaking so hard the whole bed rattled. Her eyes darted around the room like she expected Ethan Crowe to step out from behind a curtain. "Don't let him get me," she sobbed. "He said he'd come back. He said he'd make me stay. Please don't let him find me." Amelia swallowed, voice tight. "He's not here, baby. I swear on my life. He's not here." But Lily didn't calm. Her breathing sharpened, turned jagged, almost choking on fear. Amelia grabbed her hand gently, rubbing her thumb across it. "Lily, honey, look at me. I need your eyes. Just look at me." It took a moment, like Lily was fighting her way through fog, but eventually those terrified brown eyes locked onto Amelia's. And the second she saw a safe face, her crying shifted from panic to heartbreak. The collapsing, shaking kind of cry kids only make when they finally reach safety. Time chose. Amelia sat on the edge of the bed and pulled the blanket up to Lily's shoulders. "I know you're scared, but you are not alone here." Lily covered her face, sobbing into her palms. He tied me to a tree," she choked out. "And he kept saying I wasn't allowed to go home. And it was so cold. It was so cold." Amelia blinked through the sting. "Sweetheart, you don't have to talk about it yet." But Lily kept going. like she couldn't stop, like the words were being pushed out by every horrible memory she'd been forced to hold inside. "He hit me when I cried," she whispered, "and he left me there, and the dark got really loud, and I thought I was gonna die." Amelia squeezed her hand tighter. "You're not dying, honey. You made it out." "No." Lily's voice cracked clean in half. "I didn't. He did." And Amelia realized Lily wasn't talking about Ethan. She was talking about Ranger. Lily lowered her hands, tear-streaked cheeks trembling. "I was so cold I couldn't move," she said. "And then he came." "Ranger?" Amelia whispered. Lily nodded, fast, frantic. "He came out of the trees like he knew where I was. He laid on me. He was warm, so warm, and he wouldn't leave, even when he was hurt." Her fingers trembled as she pressed them to her chest. "He was bleeding. I could feel it. His fur was wet, and he kept nudging me to stay awake. He carried me," Lily said suddenly. The words hit the room like a punch. "He carried me on his back, even when he slipped, even when he fell. He didn't stop. He didn't stop even when he couldn't breathe." Her voice broke. "He saved me, because nobody else was coming." Amelia leaned in and hugged her, carefully, gently, like Lily might shatter. "You're safe now," she whispered. "I won't let anyone hurt you." But Lily wasn't done. She lifted her head, eyes red and exhausted. "Where is he?" she croaked. "Where's Ranger? He didn't leave me, so you can't let him leave now." Amelia brushed her cheek softly. "He's here, baby. He's hurt, but he's here. And he's fighting just as hard as you are." Lily swallowed, tears falling again. "He can't die," she whispered. I don't want to be alone again." And honestly, there wasn't a dry eye in that room, because watching a child who survived the unspeakable cling to the only soul who protected her, everyone realized the same thing. This wasn't just a little girl and her dog. This was two survivors who crawled out of hell holding on to each other. And if you were standing there, hearing this yourself, and if Lily waking up shook the hospital, what happened next is what made everyone start whispering about things science textbooks don't have chapters for. Because honestly, it was weird. Beautiful, yeah, but weird in that we're not meant to understand this kind of way. It started the same night Lily finally stopped screaming in her sleep. The hallway outside Trauma Bay 2 was dim, that late-night hospital dim where everything looks washed out and tired. Ranger was lying there. Well, lying wasn't the right word. It looked like he'd melted into the floor from exhaustion. Bandaged, half-conscious, breathing shallow. If anyone whispered near him, he barely twitched. But then, Lily shifted. Just the tiniest movement. A twitch. Maybe only a dream sigh. And Ranger, who hadn't moved in hours, lifted his head. Like someone yanked invisible strings wired straight into his spine. Amelia saw it first. She was on break, sipping cold coffee, staring through the trauma window just to make sure Lily was still okay. And suddenly, Ranger, that beaten-up dog who looked like he'd lived 10 lifetimes of hell, sat up straighter than any K9 she'd ever seen. What? She whispered, sliding closer to the door. Ranger's ears went up. Not halfway, fully, alert, focused. But here's the part that made Amelia's breath catch. The monitor hadn't beeped yet. No alarms, no warning signs. Just a quiet room and a sleeping kid. But Ranger knew something. Ranger? Amelia whispered. He didn't look at her. Not even a flick. His eyes were locked on Lily like something inside her was pulling something inside him. Then, finally, the monitor beeped. Just once. A soft, tiny spike. A glitch, maybe. Or maybe not. Because right as that beep hit, Lily whimpered in her sleep, and Ranger let out a sound Amelia would remember for the rest of her life. It wasn't barking. It wasn't growling. It wasn't crying. It was a soul tearing open. A long, low, desperate sound from somewhere beyond instinct, beyond ribs, beyond anything an animal is supposed to feel. Amelia rushed inside. Lily? Sweetheart? The little girl was trembling. Not fear trembling. Memory trembling. Her breathing sped up, her hands clutching the blankets like she was fighting someone only she could see. Outside, Ranger dragged his injured body closer to the glass, claws slipping across the floor. He pressed his forehead against it, like if he pushed hard enough he could break through. Hey, it's just a nightmare, Amelia whispered, brushing Lily's hair from her forehead. You're not there anymore. But Lily didn't hear her. Her lips moved, barely audible, but unmistakable. Ranger, don't leave. And Ranger whimpered again. A tiny, heartbreaking note that matched Lily's breathing perfectly. Perfectly. Like their bodies were synced. Like one heartbeat stretched across two beings. The night shift doctor wandered over, rubbing his eyes. Everything all right in here? Amelia pointed at Ranger. Watch. She didn't explain what to watch. She didn't need to. Because Lily's heart rate spiked again. Just slightly. And Ranger stiffened seconds before the machine reacted. What the hell? The doctor breathed. Lily murmured something and flinched. Ranger clawed at the glass, whining louder now. The doctor stepped closer. Is he responding to her vitals? Amelia swallowed. Not responding. Predicting. That's impossible, the doctor muttered. Yeah, Amelia whispered. That's why they call it impossible. She knelt beside Ranger, placing a hand against his cheek. He leaned into it, barely, but he never took his eyes off Lily. Hey, buddy, she whispered. She's okay. She's right there. Ranger didn't blink, didn't move, didn't shift. Hours later, after Lily finally calmed and Ranger's body stopped shaking, Amelia sat beside him, back against the wall, legs stretched out. "You know," she muttered, thumb brushing his bandaged paw, "I've seen a lot in this place. A lot. But you and her? This is something else, man." Ranger's breaths were uneven but steady, alive, present. Time 900 mams. "They're breathing on the same thread," Amelia murmured without thinking. The doctor overheard and snorted. "There's no scientific basis for that." Amelia shrugged. "Doesn't have to be. It's real." Later, around 3 a.m., when hospitals feel the most haunted and the most holy, Amelia passed by again. Lily was asleep, finally resting, her chest rising in slow, deep breaths. And Ranger had his body curled tightly against the door, guarding it, guarding her. Like if anything tried to take her again, it would have to go through him first. And maybe that's why no one questioned it anymore. Because some bonds don't need rules. Some don't need logic. Some don't need words. Some just exist. Lily and Ranger weren't two survivors. They were one heartbeat split in half. And the thing is, just when everyone at St. Haven finally started to breathe again, when Lily slept without shaking, and Ranger finally stopped crying at the door, the universe decided it wasn't done hurting them. It happened on a night when the whole world outside looked drowned in white. Snow hammered the windows, the kind of snow that makes everything feel too quiet. Hallway lights flickered, not enough to panic anyone, but enough to make you say, "Okay. Yeah. That's creepy." Nurse Amelia Brooks was doing a late-night chart, half asleep, half caffeinated, when the side entrance buzzed. At first, she didn't look up. People came and went all night. Normal stuff. But then the buzzer sounded again. Longer. Slower. Like someone was holding it down. Amelia frowned, lifted her head, and something dropped straight through her stomach. A man stepped inside. And, I'm not exaggerating, every molecule in the hallway froze. He wore teal surgical scrubs, but they didn't fit right. Too baggy at the sleeves, too tight at the chest. His shoes were wrong too. Dirty, covered in slush, not hospital shoes. And his face was ice. Not cold like someone outside in winter. Cold like there was nothing living behind his eyes. Ethan Crow. Nobody recognized him yet. Not consciously. But their bodies did. Some deep, ancient instinct started screaming. Danger. Ethan moved with this slow, steady pace like he'd rehearsed how a normal hospital worker should walk. Clipboard in hand. Fake ID badge clipped to his shirt. But Ranger knew in less than a second. The dog had been asleep. Finally asleep. Curled outside Lily's room. Out cold. Gone. But the exact second Ethan Crow turned the corner, Ranger snapped awake. No confusion, no stretching, no groggy blink. Just awake, alert, electric. His ears shot forward. His whole body went rigid like someone plugged him into a wall socket. Then came the growl, low, deep. So deep the floor felt like it vibrated. Amelia spun around. "Ranger, what is—" Then she saw him. Ethan, time 800 mems. And her blood, honest to God, went cold. "Sir," she managed, voice tight. "Can I help you?" Ethan didn't answer, didn't blink, didn't acknowledge her. His eyes slid right past her and locked on Lily's door, like he was tracking a target he'd already claimed. Ranger stood up, not easily, not smoothly. He was stitched, hurting, trembling, but he stood fast, and the sound he made, God, that sound. It wasn't a bark, wasn't a warning. It was a promise. A promise that if Ethan Crow took one more step, somebody was dying tonight. Ethan smiled, a slow one, a sick one. The kind of smile you see in nightmares, the kind that never reaches the eyes. He stepped closer. Ranger snarled louder. Amelia stepped in front of Lily's door, palms out. "Okay, no. Sir, you can't be back here. This is a restricted unit." Ethan finally stopped walking, tilted his head, studied her like she was a chair in his way, an inconvenience, not a person. "I'm here for my patient," he said calmly. "No, you're not," Amelia shot back. "You're not on shift. I don't know you." Ethan blinked, slowly. Then he said the sentence that made the air disappear. "I'm taking her home." Ranger lunged. Not far. Amelia grabbed the strap on his harness. But enough. Enough to show Ethan the dog wasn't bluffing. The hallway erupted. Alarms, yelling, footsteps. But Ethan, he didn't flinch. He kept smiling that dead, empty smile. He took another step. Ranger launched forward, nails scraping the tile, teeth bared, snapping at the air between them. And Ethan, calm, smooth, reached for the door handle. Amelia slapped his hand away. "Don't touch that." He leaned in, face inches from hers. "You don't get it," he whispered. "She's mine." That was it. Ranger exploded. Pure fury. A dog who'd carried a child through blood and snow and hell, now staring straight at the monster who caused all of it. Security sprinted around the corner, too late to stop what was happening. Time 900 spun, Ethan Crow pushed open the door, stepped inside Lily's room, smiled at her sleeping body, and said, soft enough to make Amelia's skin crawl, "Time to go home, sweetheart." Her scream and Ranger's roar hit the air at the exact same time. And every single person in that hallway realized hell hadn't followed Lily out of the forest. It had walked straight into the hospital after her. And the second Ethan Crow whispered those words, Time to go home, sweetheart. It was like the whole world snapped in half. Everything holding Ranger back. The pain, the exhaustion, the blood loss. All of it vanished. Gone. Like someone lit a fuse deep inside him. Because before anyone could shout, before security reached the doorway, before Ethan took one more disgusting step toward Lily, Ranger hit that glass and shattered it. The window didn't crack. It exploded. A burst of jagged shards, glittering under fluorescent lights as Ranger launched himself through like a missile built out of fury and instinct. He didn't even hit the floor. He went straight from breaking glass to slamming into Ethan with an impact so violent the room shook. Ethan flew backward, crashing into a metal tray table. Instruments scattered everywhere. Scissors, syringes, clamps, like the room itself panicked. Then chaos. Just absolute chaos. Ethan tried to shove Ranger off, snarling, "Get off me, you stupid mutt!" But Ranger wasn't a dog anymore. Not in that moment. He was a force, a storm, a creature who had already decided he would rather die than let this man touch Lily again. He clamped onto Ethan's forearm, teeth sinking deep. Ethan screamed, a real scream, the kind you make when the thing you thought you could control is about to end you. Security shouted from the hallway, "Don't shoot! There's a child!" But none of it mattered. Ranger dug his paws into the tile, pulling, dragging Ethan away from Lily's bed, even with blood dripping from his stomach, even with stitches tearing, even with fire ripping through his limbs. He kept going. Ethan grabbed Ranger's collar and slammed him against the wall. Ranger's head hit with a sickening crack. "Stop! Stop! Get off!" Ethan roared, trying to pry Ranger's jaws apart. But Ranger didn't stop. His growl came from somewhere past the ribs, past instinct, from hell itself, fueled by every nightmare Lily had lived. Then Ethan reached into his waistband. Metal flashed. Ranger moved, but not fast enough. The knife plunged, downward, straight into Ranger's front leg. A military combat knife, thick, serrated, sharp enough to split bone. Ranger let out a sound that didn't even sound real. Pain, rage, desperation. All at once. His leg buckled. Blood poured instantly. Everyone thought, for a split second, that was it. But he didn't fall. Ranger lunged again with the knife still in him. He slammed Ethan to the floor, paws scraping across Ethan's chest. Ethan swung wildly, fist to muzzle, elbow to ribs, but Ranger didn't loosen his grip. And the whole time, Lily sat up in bed, trembling, whispering, "Ranger, Ranger." Hearing her voice lit something inside him. Ranger pulled harder, dragging Ethan across the floor inch by inch, away from Lily, away from the bed, away from the girl he nearly died carrying through a forest. "Get him off me!" Ethan screamed. "Get this thing off me!" But nobody stepped in, because everyone understood. This wasn't a dog attacking a man. This was a guardian finishing the fight the monster started. Security finally barreled in. 3 officers. They tackled Ethan, ripping him out from under Ranger. The moment Ethan was pulled free, Ranger collapsed. Just dropped. Like his strings were cut. But not before he crawled, shaking, whimpering, dragging himself toward Lily's bed. A trail of blood marking every inch he moved. He reached the frame, pressed his head against it, and stopped moving. "Ranger!" Lily screamed, lunging forward, tangled in IV lines. "Ranger, no! Please, please don't!" Amelia grabbed her. "Lily, sweetie, you can't." "He saved me!" Lily cried. "He saved me again!" She wasn't wrong. Security had Ethan pinned, cuffing him as he thrashed and spat. But nobody looked at him. Nobody cared. Not anymore. Every single person was staring at Ranger, at his still body, at the spreading pool of dark red beneath him. At the dog who survived snow, starvation, freezing nights, open wounds, only to maybe die on the floor of the room he had just saved a little girl in. Amelia dropped to her knees. "Get a vet in here now," she shouted, "and someone bring blankets. We're losing him." A paramedic pressed a hand to Ranger's chest. His breathing's shallow, really shallow. Ranger's ear twitched, just a little, like he could hear Lily crying. Lily sobbed so hard she hiccuped. "Ranger, please don't go. Please, please don't leave me." And the whole hospital felt it. This wasn't a dog fighting a man. This was a soul refusing to leave the person he belonged to. But now I gotta ask you, when Ranger took that knife and still kept fighting, what hit you hardest? A, his pain. B, his loyalty. Or C, the fact he was willing to die for her. And honestly, after the fight, after the screaming, the shattering glass, the blood everywhere, you'd think the worst part was over. But no, not even close. Because the real heartbreak didn't hit until everything finally went quiet. Ranger was lying on the floor, just lying there, in a huge, spreading puddle of dark red. He wasn't moving, not even a twitch. His breathing sounded wrong, like each breath was a question, not a promise. A soft, broken that barely lifted his ribs. It looked like he was trying to breathe with half a lung. Amelia froze, just half a second, like her brain refused to accept what she was seeing. Then everything snapped. "Oh God! Ranger! Ranger!" She hit her knees so fast she slid across the tile, her hand pressed to his neck. "Pulse, Pulse, come on, we need help, now!" But Lily didn't wait for help. She didn't think. She didn't hesitate. That tiny girl, bone-thin, hooked to IV lines, still shaking from nightmares, threw herself out of the bed. She ripped the pulse ox straight off her finger. The IV tube jerked so hard, blood trickled down her arm. But she didn't even look. "Lily, stop!" Amelia shouted. But Lily was already on the floor. Her legs buckled. She crashed to her knees. But she didn't make a sound. She crawled, actually crawled across the tile, dragging the IV pole behind her, tubes scraping, gown slipping off one shoulder, like nothing else existed except the dying dog in front of her. "Ranger," her voice cracked. "Ranger, please. Please don't go." Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Lily collapsed beside him, sobbing so hard her whole body shook. She wrapped her arms around his neck, pressed her forehead to his muzzle. "Please don't die," she whispered, voice breaking apart. "You're all I have. You're all I have." That sentence, God. It hit the room like a wrecking ball. A respiratory tech covered her mouth, turning away in tears. A paramedic wiped his eyes with his sleeve. A security guard whispered, "Jesus Christ." Even the surgeon, the one who'd seen every kind of nightmare, had to blink hard and stare at the floor. Because this wasn't a girl crying over a pet. This was grief. This was desperation. This was a child begging the only soul who ever protected her not to leave. Amelia slid beside them, trying to pull Lily back. "Sweetheart, Lily, he needs help. We have to move him." "No!" Lily screamed, holding Ranger tighter. "Don't take him! Please, he's dying!" Amelia's voice cracked. "I know, honey, I know. That's why we have to move him." But Lily shook her head so violently her hair whipped across her face. "He didn't leave me," she sobbed. "Not in the dark, not in the cold, not when he was hurt. He stayed. He stayed." Ranger twitched. Just a little. Lily gasped. She lifted his head with trembling hands, fingers slipping in blood. "Ranger, hey. Hey, look at me. I'm right here." His eyes opened. Barely. Two tiny slits of unfocused brown, searching for her voice. He let out a sound, a weak, wet whine that broke every single person in that room. "Oh, God," Amelia whispered. "He's still trying." Ranger's paw twitched, like he was trying to reach her but couldn't lift it. "Okay, move," a surgeon barked. "We're getting him on the crash cart." A vet tech slid a stretcher in. Improvised equipment, wrong tools. But it didn't matter. Nobody was letting him die without a fight. "Pressure on the wound. Start a line. Whatever you can." "He's crashing. Move faster." But Lily wouldn't let go. Two nurses had to ease her arms away, gentle but firm. "Sweetheart, you can see him again." "No!" she screamed. "Don't take him! Don't take him away!" Her little hands grabbed at his fur, his collar, anything she could hold. And when they finally lifted Ranger onto the stretcher, Lily collapsed onto the floor where he had been lying, sobbing into the blood-stained tile. Amelia caught her before she hurt herself. Lily fought at first, kicking, clawing, until her voice broke into a rasp. "Please don't let him die. she begged. Please. He saved me. He saved me. Ranger was wheeled out fast. 3 staff pushing, one holding gauze to his leg, blood soaking through instantly. The stretcher rolled down the hall, wheels squeaking, alarms blaring, bursting through the double doors toward emergency surgery. Lily watched him disappear. Her scream echoed, "Ranger!" Then her voice cracked. No sound came out. Just shaking. Just tears. Just a child losing the only thing she had left. Amelia held her tight, rubbing her back, whispering, "I know, I know," even though she didn't know if she was lying. And for the first time since she entered the hospital, Lily didn't fight. She just crumpled, silent, broken, waiting for someone, anyone, to tell her Ranger wasn't gone yet. And honestly, if the moment Ranger collapsed felt like the world ended, then the hours that followed felt like time itself froze and refused to move. It was torture, the slow kind, the kind that eats you from the inside out. They rushed Ranger toward the emergency surgical wing, and Amelia practically carried Lily behind them because the kid refused to let go of Ranger's collar. She held it so tight her knuckles turned white. Blood, his blood, still clinging to it, still warm. When they reached the surgical doors, Dr. Elena Moreno, the best trauma vet in the whole state, met them halfway. She took one look at Ranger's leg, the knife wound, the blood loss, and her jaw clenched. "All right," she said quietly, steady but heavy. "I'm going to be straight with you all." Lily tightened her grip on the collar. Amelia braced herself. "He's got maybe 40%. No sugarcoating, no soft edges. Just truth. He's in shock. He's losing blood too fast. And with that deep tissue damage, I won't know what we're facing until we open him up." Lily's face crumpled, her whole world breaking all over again. No, he can't. He can't die," she whispered, shaking her head like she could undo reality. "He didn't leave me. He never left me." Those words hit Dr. Moreno like a punch. Her expression softened, just a flicker, but enough to show she wasn't made of steel. "I know, sweetheart," she murmured. "And we're not leaving him either." Amelia rubbed Lily's back, whispering, "We're right here. He's fighting. He always fights." The team pushed Ranger toward the double doors. Lily panicked. "Wait! Give me a second!" And somehow, everyone paused. Lily leaned forward, placed both hands on Ranger's muzzle, pressed her forehead to his. Her voice was tiny, broken, barely there. "Come back to me, please." Then she slid the collar off his neck. "I'll hold it," she whispered, "so you know where to come back." And she let them take him. The moment the doors shut, Amelia swore she felt the air collapse, like hope leaked out through the cracks along with Ranger. The red light above the door flicked on. Surgery in progress. And so began the wait. The waiting room was too bright, too clean, too loud. Even though nobody was talking. You know that silence that somehow screams? Yeah, that was it. Lily curled up in a chair. No shoes, hospital gown, messy hair, dried tears streaking her cheeks, clutching Ranger's collar like a lifeline. Amelia sat beside her, hands digging into her scalp, because she'd seen emergencies before. But this one? Yeah, this one was killing her too. Every 10 minutes. Any updates? Every 10 minutes. Not yet. Hour 1 felt like a day. Hour 2 felt like a year. Around hour 3, the light above the doors flickered. Amelia's heart dropped. Oh God, did something happen? Did they? But the light steadied, still red, still glowing, still mocking. Lily stared at it, unblinking. A tiny statue of grief. Eventually she whispered, "He's tired. I can feel it." Amelia didn't know if it was imagination or something deeper, something impossible, something real. The clock ticked and ticked and ticked. 5 hours. 5 long, miserable hours. Then, click. The red light blinked off. Lily gasped, sharp enough to echo. Is that? Does that mean? Before Amelia could answer, the doors swung open. Dr. Moreno stepped out. Mask loose, hair stuck to her forehead, scrubs stained with dried blood. Exhausted. Wrung out. Lily stood so fast her IV pole nearly toppled. Dr. Moreno crouched to meet her eyes. "This dog," she said, voice thick, tired, emotional, "fought harder than anything I've ever seen on a table." Lily's eyes filled instantly. Her lips trembled. And he made it. Ranger's alive. Lily burst into tears. Not the screaming kind. Not the panicked kind. The relieved kind. The collapsing kind. The kind that shakes every fear loose from inside your bones. Amelia cried too, hand over her mouth. The nurse at the desk cried. The security guard pumped a fist and whispered, "Hell yes." Lily stumbled into Dr. Moreno's arms. "Thank you," she sobbed. "Thank you. Thank you." Dr. Moreno hugged her gently. "No, sweetheart," she murmured. "Thank him. He refused to leave you." And the truth hit everyone, all at once. He survived the forest. He survived the blood loss. He survived Ethan Crow. He survived the knife. He survived the surgery. Because Lily needed him, and he wasn't done protecting her yet. And honestly, After the chaos, after the blood, after the 5-hour surgery that nearly broke everyone in that waiting room, there was this strange, quiet shift in the air. Like the world finally decided to stop punishing these three and give them a damn break. Ranger was alive. Really alive. Breathing. Fighting. Healing. And Lily, yeah. She changed the second she heard he made it. Something in her chest unclenched. Something in her shoulders dropped. It was like watching a storm drain out of a child who'd been drowning far too long. But healing didn't come all at once. It arrived in small pieces, little fragments, like sunlight sneaking through half-closed blinds. The first big shift, 3 days later. Child services came to the hospital. Forms, polite voices, practiced smiles that felt warm the way cardboard feels warm. They asked Amelia if she was ready to talk about what comes next for Lily. And Lily heard them. She sat in the corner of the recovery room, knees to her chest, Ranger's collar in her lap. When she heard the word placement, she stiffened so hard the blanket slid off her shoulders. "Placement where?" she whispered. The caseworker crouched, smiling softly. "Sweetheart, we'll be finding you a safe home. A foster—" "No!" Not loud. Just final. Heavy enough to crack concrete. She ran across the room and grabbed the hem of Amelia's scrubs, fingers trembling, voice breaking. "Please don't make me leave. Please. I can clean things, or help, or be quiet. I won't bother anyone. Just don't make me go." Amelia froze. Her heart stopped. Then something inside her, something deep, something brave, finally broke open. She knelt down, brushed Lily's hair back, and said without thinking, "You're not going anywhere." The caseworker blinked. "Ms. Brooks, foster placement requires—" "I'm not fostering her," Amelia said. "I'm keeping her." Silence. Shock. A whole room inhaling at once. And Lily burst into tears. Relief tears. Collapsing tears. The kind that drain fear straight out of your bones. Time 1.7s. Amelia hugged her so tight, Lily's feet left the floor. "I've got you," she whispered. "I swear to God, Lily, I've got you now." 2 weeks later, Ranger comes home. He limped out of the hospital. Shaved patches, stitches like railroad tracks, a cone he absolutely despised. But the second he stepped into Amelia's house, he knew. He walked straight down the hall, didn't explore, didn't sniff, didn't hesitate. He curled up right in front of Lily's bedroom door and stayed there. Every night, without fail. Once, Amelia tried to stop Lily from curling up beside him on the hallway floor. Just once. "I sleep better when he's right there," Lily whispered. So Amelia let it happen. Honestly, she understood. Lily begins to bloom, Healing didn't look dramatic. No fireworks, no miraculous overnight transformation. Just little things, quiet wins that stacked up like pieces of a rebuilt soul. The first time she laughed was accidental. Ranger misjudged a jump and knocked over an entire laundry basket, socks everywhere. Amelia groaned. Ranger looked offended. And Lily, she giggled. Soft, fragile, real. Amelia nearly cried on the kitchen tile. Then came food. Then real sleep. Then drawings. Little doodles of a girl and her dog with ridiculous smiles. Bike rides in the driveway. Watering plants. Braiding Ranger's tail while he sighed like an old man who'd given up resisting. She lived again. And Ranger. Ranger was always right beside her. Every joy, he shared it. Every setback, he leaned into her as if to say, "You're not alone, kid." One evening, Amelia watched them from the doorway. Lily curled beside Ranger, scratching behind his ears. "Do you know you saved her?" Amelia whispered. Ranger blinked. Slow, knowing. But Lily turned and said something that broke Amelia open all over again. "He saved me first," Lily murmured. "But you saved both of us." Amelia choked on her breath. "Oh, honey, I didn't—" "Yes, you did," Lily insisted softly. "I didn't have anyone. Now I have two, time 1.7s. Later that night, as Amelia watched them sleep, Ranger curled like a fortress around the little girl he'd carried out of hell. She whispered to herself, "I didn't save them. They saved me." Because she hadn't just built a home. She'd built a family out of ashes. And somehow, impossibly, beautifully, the ashes bloomed. And honestly, while Lily and Ranger were slowly learning how to breathe again, while Amelia was figuring out how to become a mom overnight, something huge, massive, was unfolding miles away in a dusty sheriff's office that still smelled like stale coffee. Sheriff Matt Donovan was not the type who believed in signs, or fate, or the universe having a plan. He believed in paperwork, boots on the ground, and the kind of logic that keeps you awake at night. But even he felt something buzzing under his skin when Ranger Kayla Torres burst into his office. Snow melting off her jacket, breathless, holding a stack of files so old the corners were curling. "Matt," she said, voice tight. "You need to see this." Matt didn't look up at first. "This about Crow? Because unless you've found his burial site, I don't want—" "It's not about Crow," Kayla said. "It's about the dog." Matt froze. "Ranger?" "His name wasn't Ranger," she said quietly, dropping the file on his desk. "Not originally." Matt blinked, looked down, saw the first page, and sat up straighter. Stamped across the top in bold block letters, "Valor, K9 Search and Rescue Unit 27B, Federal Emergency Management Agency. The photo clipped inside looked younger, fresher than the dog who crawled into St. Haven. But the eyes? Yeah, same eyes. Sharp, steady, brave. Matt frowned. Hold on. No. That dog died in the mudslide 12 disaster last winter. Everyone knows that. Kayla shook her head. He didn't die. They searched for him for days, Matt argued. Weeks. Terrain like that. They were wrong. Her voice softened. Matt, he survived. Matt flipped through the pages. Deployment records, handler notes, commendations, photos of valor digging through rubble, pulling kids out of collapsed homes, tracking survivors through landslides. He wasn't just good. He was legendary. And then, the last entry. December 14th. Declared KIA. Body unrecovered. Presumed buried beneath shifting debris. Kayla tapped the line. Except, he wasn't buried. She spread out a satellite map covered in cone, timestamps and GPS overlays. This is where Valor disappeared during the mudslide. And this, she slid another map beside it, is where Lily went missing months later. Matt frowned. That's almost 70 miles apart. Exactly, Kayla said. He walked it. Matt blinked. You're telling me a half-starved, injured search and rescue dog spent months traveling across the Rockies? I'm saying, Kayla whispered, he didn't stop until he found her. Matt leaned back, running a hand over his face, his expression slowly shifting from disbelief to awe. So he wasn't wandering? No. Kayla's voice dropped. He wasn't lost. She looked up at him. Eyes bright, warm, almost reverent. He was searching. The words hit Matt so hard, he actually stopped breathing. Searching for what? Kayla hesitated, like the truth was too wild to say out loud. For the person who needed him most, she whispered. And somehow, that person was Lily Carter. Matt stared at the photo, at the strong body, the proud stance, the loyal eyes of a dog who refused to die when the world buried him. He crossed mountains for her, Matt murmured. He survived a disaster for her, Kayla added. He tracked a child he'd never met, Matt whispered. He felt something, Kayla said. Something that told him she needed him. They both fell silent. Because what do you say about a dog who crawled out of a grave nature put him in, walked through wilderness alone, survived storms, and somehow ended up in the exact forest where a kidnapped little girl was freezing to death? Matt finally exhaled. If this gets out, people are going to think we're making it up. Kayla almost laughed. I know. Matt closed the folder gently, like it was something sacred. Does Amelia know? Not yet, Kayla said. I wanted to tell her in person, and Lily. Matt nodded. They deserve the whole truth. Kayla turned to leave. Matt called after her. Torres? Yeah? He pointed at the file. You ever seen anything like this in all your years? Time 1.3s. Kayla stared at Valor's picture. The hero's stance, the scarred muzzle, the eyes of a guardian who refused to stay dead, refused to stay lost, refused to stop searching for the child who needed him more than anyone else ever had. She shook her head slowly. No, and I don't think I ever will again. Because this wasn't just survival. This was destiny. A miracle wrapped in fur and scars. A guardian who crawled out of a grave the world tried to bury him in. Just to save a little girl he hadn't even met yet. And honestly, after everything they'd survived, the forest, the hospital, the surgery, the nightmares, you'd think life would stay cautious with them. Like it would tiptoe around their family and avoid risking breaking them again. But no. Life finally did something different. It gave them a summer. A real one. Warm. Bright. Soft in all the places winter had been cruel. And that's how they ended up at White Crest Lake on a late July afternoon, the kind where sunlight hits the water and scatters into broken diamonds. The air smelled like sunscreen and pine needles. The only sounds were distant kids laughing and waves tapping the shore in a calm, sleepy rhythm. Lily kicked her shoes off the second they stepped out of the car. Ranger, race me! No fear, no shaking, no hesitation, just joy. And Ranger. Oh my God. He ran. Not limping, not struggling, not dragging old pain behind him. Running. Full speed. Ears flying. Tongue flopping, tail wagging like he'd only ever known joy. Lily sprinted after him, squealing when Ranger slowed down just enough to let her tag him before he bolted again. Her laughter carried across the lake. Deep, real laughter. The kind Amelia had prayed to hear again one day. Amelia spread out a blanket by the water and just watched. She didn't call out instructions. She didn't hover. She didn't brace for Lily to panic or Ranger to collapse. She whispered to herself, soft, reverent. This is my miracle. And she meant it with every part of her. Not a miracle of magic. Not a miracle in holy books. A miracle built from bruises, stitches, and nights where nobody slept. A miracle that crawled its way out of tragedy and still chose to glow. Lily splashed water at Ranger, and he pretended to be offended before leaping in after her. They played like they'd done this forever, like the forest never happened, like pain had never touched their names. Lily held Ranger's collar as they waded together in the shallows. Ranger swam circles around her, protective, but playful now too. Healing had finally reached him, too. Alive. Laughing. whole. Then Lily came running up the hill, dripping water all over the blanket. "Mom!" she shouted, that new word that hit Amelia's chest like sunlight every time. "Did you see Ranger swim? He went under on purpose. He does it like a submarine." Amelia laughed. "A submarine, huh?" "Yeah." She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. Everything she felt was already there in the way she leaned into Ranger when he shook water everywhere, in the way his eyes softened whenever she touched him, in the way Amelia looked at the two of them and felt her heart shift into a shape she didn't know was possible again. Amelia pulled them both under the blanket. Warm fabric, warm bodies, warm summer air. And she whispered, more certain than ever, This is exactly where we were meant to end up." Because anyone watching them in that moment, a kid leaning on a dog guarding the lake like he was guarding the whole world, would have felt the same truth hit them square in the chest. The storm didn't win. The darkness didn't win. They did. Together. And if this moment were yours, seeing Lily and Ranger finally at peace with Hathung, what hits you hardest? A, the joy. B, the relief. Or C, that they actually made it to the sunlight?